All right, boom, boom. Actual recordings in higher quality. Ta-da. All right, boom. Here we go. All right, what's going on, you guys? Brandon back at it again with another episode of the Dispensary Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Kwan, founder of Cannabis Marketing, the number one marketing agency for all dispensaries in both Canada and United States. And I'm joined here by the one and only Nick Wavy. You might have seen his Wave, YouTube shows, about 8 years ago. Guy has 250,000 plus followers on YouTube, founder of Wavy Buds, founder of Wavy Merch. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Brandon. Much love. Much love.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I guess kick things off. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, my name is Nick Wavy. I go by the name Nick Wavy. My name is Nick. 2012 or 2011, I started my YouTube videos. So the YouTube videos were about getting 360 waves, which is the hairstyle. And then I was doing that for about 4 years. And then I started a company called Wavy Merch, which is it's kind of hard to see with the light, but we made my own brush. And then that kind of did pretty well. So just basically brush your hair like this and you get the waves. And then that was 2018, and then 2020 we started Wavy Buds, so everything is under the Wavy moniker. And yeah, 2023 now, and Wavy Buds is still here, Wavy Merch is still here, and I'm still here. So I'm just grateful for the opportunity to be here.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, there's tons to talk about. So I want to reverse a little bit. We're ready in 2023, but we got to go all the way back. So, young budding entrepreneur, you're starting up. Was your first business the brushes and stuff like that? Or did you do something else
Business
before?
was YouTube, to be honest, because you
Okay.
have to look at that as a business as itself, because I'm presenting and I'm selling something which is myself and
Right.
my ideas and my creations. But the first actual corporation where I was selling a physical good that was generating better revenues was the Wavy Merch company.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you took that and then decided you want to open up these dispensaries, or, I saw the videos and you started a few things in between there. So, you want to touch on that quickly?
Yeah. So the Wavy Merch was 2018 and it did really well from the jump. And it got to a point where that company became automatic. So it
Right.
became passive income. I wasn't really doing much and I wasn't really applying myself. So I said, let me try and create something else that is in line with Wavy Merch, which is a hair manufacturing brand at the time. And I decided to open a barbershop, which is called Wavy Cuts. So I think it took maybe 3 or 4 months until I could open the doors for Wavy Cuts. And then that very same week where I opened, COVID came. So then that shut that down. And then cannabis regulations in Ontario at the time were very strict. So you had to have, I can't remember, don't quote me on the numbers, but I think you needed $250,000 cash. You had
Right.
to have a lease already signed up for a property. The requirements to get your retail operator license was intense, and not a lot of people could do it. I remember it was January 6th, 2020, I believe, where they loosened the restrictions and it was easier for people to apply for their license. I said, okay, let me try it. I shot my shot, and the way they made it seem was if you don't get your license, it's too bad. There's no refunds, and they weren't guaranteeing that you would get it. So it was a $6,000 lottery ticket, which is what I looked at it. So I said, let me just try it. I did it. The same week that COVID came and shut down Wavy Cuts, they emailed me saying you're accepted for the cannabis retail. So I'm like, oh, this is crazy. So
Yeah.
literally one door closed, and then a whole another door opened with vast opportunities. So then we opened up Wavy Buds in 20, I think it was 2020 or maybe 2021 when we actually opened the doors. And then we just kept expanding. We opened up a few locations up until now. And right now we only have one location. And yeah, we're still here.
Nice. So, like I said before, I watched all the videos, and for the listeners who don't know, um, Nick's entire journey from opening up the store, getting the lottery, really figuring things out, dealing with competitors, dealing with inventory, thinking what he's buying is good, and it actually not being any good at all. The entire journey of like the hustle, the grind, right? So, for those of you who don't know, on his channel, he has I think 8 episodes, just kind of categorizing this entire thing. Now,
Yeah.
before we go into any of that, like why, like why do it in the first place? Like you were insanely busy. What kind of compelled you to kind of document this process in the first place?
So my original plan was I planned on creating a documentary, and I've been shooting a documentary since I started being an entrepreneur. I guess you could say
Right.
all my businesses. So the Wavy Bud saga, I my plan was to record the content and just keep it for like 10 years down the line, and then I'll release a mass documentary where I show the world everything I've done up until this point. But it got to a point where I wanted to make a comeback to social media and content creation, and I had the footage. I'm like, you know what? Let me just release this now. So I
Yeah.
just started editing the videos, the content, and then I just said, "Yo, let's just drop it instead of waiting." I'll take the little parts of the videos of the cannabis series, and I'll
Yeah.
still do my documentary because there's still so much more I need to do. But I just felt like I had to give something to the world to spark up my creative side again, basically.
Yes. Yes. The serial entrepreneurship inside you.
Yeah, I had to fulfill that.
Nice, nice. Okay, so now we'll go back on regular topic for all you dispensary owners and stuff like that. So walk us through. It was 2018 you got the lottery?
No, it was 20. I think I applied January 6th, 2020.
January 6th, 2020. Okay. And again, for those of you listening, this is in Toronto. So, it was like lottery system, just been like, hey, let me spend some money and hope, fingers crossed that we get this thing started, right?
Yeah.
So started 2020, and then kind of walk us through the first, I guess, couple months. Like, what were the main things that you had to go through, the main issues, buying inventory, how much money did you need to raise and have ahead of time? Did you have a lot of margin to spend some money? Like, what was that entire process? I would call like the unknown optimistic part, where you're like, yes, this is the most amazing thing, but you don't really know what the heck is like on the other side of this fence. So how did that feel, where you're like, yes, this is amazing, to like almost like more and more like darkness essentially? How does that work?
Because at the time the industry was so new, so there's
Yes.
no information online that I could reference to. So the AGCO and the OCS, they don't really communicate with you until you're further down the line ready to open. So they gave me my
Right.
license, and I'm just like, okay, now what? And I understood that. I think when they first gave me my retail operator license, they approved me, but there was still some more research that they had to do. So I had to give them a police check. Um, I had to confirm that I would get my license. And once I received my license, now I'm able to open stores.
Mm-hmm.
So I started looking for retail locations, and I found one. So how I found my location was I was browsing realtor.ca. Shout out to them. And I found the location. So I contacted them. I contacted my agent, and then she spoke to the agent of the property. And they said they're in the middle of selling the property. So once they finalize that deal, the new landlords will meet with me, and then we can go from there. So the same day that they completed their deal, they met with me, and I didn't even know I was going to sign the deal that same day. But I went there, we met, and they're like, "Yo, do you want it? Here's the price." And I said, "Yeah, sign me up." Signed it, and now I have my lease signed, and I have a location. So now the next step moving forward is, once you have your lease signed, you're able to apply for your retail store authorization, which is
Right.
to build out your store and open. So I started that process, and I think that may have been May when I first applied, and it took about 8 months for me to finally open. I think at the time they were opening 20 stores a month, or authorizing 20 stores a month, and there was already a queue of stores in all of Ontario. So they just put me somewhere on the list, and I just have to wait until my name gets called. It took about 8 months. So in the meantime, I'm still paying rent. I still don't know how much money I need for inventory. I have no idea what's happening because they don't talk to you until you're ready, right?
Yeah.
So I have no
Yeah.
idea. I have no one that I can ask for advice from, right? So came down, they started my application process, and now they're starting to communicate with me. So I'm asking them questions. Um, they're very communicative with me at that point because they want you to open your store so they can start, generating revenue, eliminating the black market and whatnot. Yeah, I remember I bought the first set of inventory, and it was I thought it was a decent amount because I didn't know I didn't come into this company with unlimited money. I didn't take investors. Everything was all me. So I don't have unlimited funds. So I bought an amount that I thought was good until I found out I had competitors down the street. They didn't know, they knew that I was there because they spoke to the landlord of their unit, and the
Mhm.
landlord knew that I was at that unit.
Yeah.
So he told him, he's like, there's a store called Wavy Buds there. And like, oh yeah, there's room for the both of us to survive. And
Yeah.
they chose to sign the lease, and now there's competitors. So there are 3 stores down, and I noticed they were opening. I'm like, how are they opening before me? I seen that they had a wider range of inventory than I did, so I said, okay, I got
Yeah.
to put more money in. So I bought more, and then I opened up maybe a week after them, which was unfortunate because this was in the early stages of cannabis. So in my area, there were no other stores, and they were the
Mm.
first ones. So they were already acquiring customers, and I basically need to play catch up now. And they were also pricing their items extremely low. So the prices that I wanted to originally use, they were cheaper than that. So now I need to adjust everything, which adjusts my whole business. So I'm going to make
Yeah.
less money depending if I don't know how much sales we're going to make, but the profit margin is smaller. That means the whole outlook of the company kind of gets pushed back.
Yeah.
So we started the company, we're going back and forth, and slowly I started to acquire more market share. I guess I just did a better job. And then they went out of business. And my store, my original location, they were demolishing the building. So
Hmm.
when I signed that lease, the landlord didn't tell me that. So I think once I opened, I had a year and a half remaining before my lease was done and they were going to demolish the unit. So
Yep.
at that point, I'm like, okay, I need to expand immediately. So once this store gets demolished, I already have other locations I could just transfer over to. So that's why I ended up opening 2 other locations while still having the first one. And then we had 3 locations at one time. Then my competitor went out of business. Now, the Kingston Strip was my main hub where I'm generating the most money. That was the main flagship store. So when my competitors went out of business and my lease is coming to an end in a few months, I had to acquire their location so I could basically transfer everything over, and I'm still on the Kingston Strip generating money. So I had to pay her, and I had to reapply for the whole opening of the store. I had to
Yeah.
buy everything that she had in the store, and then that's a whole process in itself. But at the same time, I just opened 2 stores. So, and I'm running 3 stores at the time. So I only have so much money. I'm super
Yeah.
tapped up and I'm stressed out of my mind. My life is crazy at the time. So I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, I got to just figure this out. So the 2 stores that I opened, I closed one of them. And they were pretty good locations too, but I closed one and I was running 2 at a time. And then I'm like, this is still stressful. My other store is losing money. I don't want to have a business that's losing money. I want a
Right.
business that's generating revenue, that's profitable, and at the same time, I'm stressed out and tired, and I don't want to be losing money and stressed out and tired. Let me just focus on my one store that's profitable, be happy, save money, and then when the time comes, I'll play my cards right and better, and then we'll go from there. So right now, we just have one location. It's profitable. I employ my friends. I employ myself. It's good.
So on that, so on the team building aspect, so like I'm of the opinion that as the business grows, obviously you only have a specific amount of bandwidth and a specific amount of time that you can allocate to any business, whether it's dispensaries or whatever it is, right? So really what makes the business run well is the team that can help operate it, to at least an extent of how well you would ideally better, but probably at the beginning stage is not as good because you have to train everyone up, right? So I know you employed your friend. So like, how did you go through that kind of filtering process of like, friend A is better than friend B? Did you kind of figure out like I'm closest to this person, so you just hired them? Did you hire based on like loyalty, competence, skill set? Like, what was your kind of like initial filter to determine like which one of these people are going to be at least good fit for the business?
So I didn't reach out to any of my friends. I may have reached out to one.
Mm,
Actually, no, I reached out. I had 2 employees, and they're
right.
both my friends. And I said, guys, just come help me with this. I'll pay you
Yeah.
guys. Let's just learn as we go
Yeah.
along.
Yeah.
We're open to it. Um, but then my friends started to reach out to me more and more. I didn't
Yeah.
really. There's no real interview process. Like I know my friends. I know who they are. I know
Yes.
you'll be a good fit for this. So what I really need is, and what I really needed at the time was bud tenders. So those are people who
Bartender.
are at the cash, dealing with customers, doing all
Right.
that. I don't need people necessarily on the back end because I can do that. So
Right.
when my friends would come to me and say, "Hey, I need a job. I'll be the bud tender." I got my what do they call it? The license to be a bud tender.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
once they have all that ready, I'm like, come on Monday, watch me work for a few hours, and then you're on your own. So that's
Yeah.
pretty much how it went. There was no real, oh, John is better than Sally. Let me go
Mhm.
with John. John has skills that I need, and it's my job as the leader of the corporation to figure out his talent And Susie has talents too, that it's my
Right.
job to figure that out and implement her talents in my system as well.
Right.
So everyone on my team, they bring and contribute something that is unique and is needed. And it's my job to kind of incorporate everything together to make the business flow. So no
Right.
one really, I've never fired anybody. I don't have to yell at people. I
Yeah.
know what to expect from people, and they know what they're supposed to do. And it makes the system very easy. There's no arguments, there's respect. I'm not a boss. I'm just the leader of this system.
You're right.
I treat everybody the same way. I've worked the hours myself, countless hours. So sometimes if you're working with someone, they're like, my boss just sits around, collects money. He's not really involved. No, I've dealt with the customers. I've been
Yeah.
yelled at. I've had no sleep. I've cleaned the store. I've shown you guys the perfect example of how to run the store. And I
Yeah.
expect you guys to follow that same regime that I've set because I've done it and I expect you to do the same. So
Yeah. Yeah. You've lived in the store too.
I've done it.
You cooked in the store too. You done all that stuff. How- so how did you deal with the downsizing of the team? So you were at peak. You were at 4 stores, or it
Yeah.
was
Peak, at peak open, we had 3.
peak opening at 3, and the third one swapped because the competitors opened up, so you swap location, so
Yeah.
you're at 3. So did you have to, I know you said you didn't have to fire anyone, like, hey, you did a bad job, like, get out of here, but how did you kind of deal, because like I would feel like that would be pretty difficult, like, hey guys, we're going back to 1 store, we're downsizing, we obviously don't need 3 bud tenders or 6 bud tenders anymore, we're kind of going down to 1. How did you kind of like deal with that process?
It was easy because I was transparent. So I
Ah.
didn't wait until the store closed and be like, hey guys, we're out of business. It's over.
Mm, mm,
I knew months prior that I had to make adjustments to the business. And I said,
right.
hey, the Weston location, I said, guys, I don't know how much longer we can do this. I'm trying to keep things alive, but I don't
Mm,
know how much longer we can keep this alive.
mm,
So I was very transparent from the beginning. And as I processed through transitioning of closing the stores, I was very open with them. And I said, look, it's shutting down. Like I can't keep it alive anymore. This is
yeah.
probably the last day. No, this is going to be the last day, January 1st, for example. And I can try and squeeze you into the new location,
Mhm.
but the way I had the store set out is I was in Scarborough, I was in the West End, and I was also on the Danforth. So
Mhm.
people who worked at the West End location, for them to go to Scarborough, it doesn't really make sense. It's a very long drive. They were understanding about that, so they were cool with that. Um, and then the Danforth location, that's where I was working full time. So I only had about 8 or 9 employees, and I
Mhm.
was able to carry maybe 5 or 6 over to the new location, and the other 3, they were understanding that hey, yeah, it's just over now.
Yeah.
They paid all their taxes, they went on EI and everything.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It was fine. It was unfortunate because I don't want people to lose jobs at the end of the
Right,
day, and
right.
it's my job, I guess, to try and provide for that.
Yeah.
Well, it was unfortunate that I had to close up, but that's just part of the game. Sometimes you got to take a step back to take 2, 3 steps forward. So
Right, right. And then when you're opening, so I know you downsized back to the 1, but what did you learn from the first store that you applied to the second store? And then what did you learn from both 2 stores that applied to the third store that at least help you run it a little bit better efficiency wise or operationally wise? Or even like building out the store, because it sounded like, you had to, oh, yeah, get the artificial turf on the wall, you got the people coming in with the IDs, like you had all that stuff sorted out. So like what did you kind of like learn from the first couple stores that really helped you accelerate the build out for the other stores?
definitely just going through the process of opening. So having
Mm,
to build out my first one with no knowledge of how to do it, I
yeah.
had to learn firsthand how to build out a store. I had to learn how to get the bank accounts ready. I had to learn how to get the insurance papers set. I understood the fees for setting all those up. So the knowledge that I acquired through the first store, I was able to translate to opening these 2 stores in a much more efficient rate. So
Right.
first store, it took me 8 months to finalize and open. Not all my fault, just because they had me in queue.
Right.
But the next stores, I think it may have took me a month. So
Yeah.
actually, when I first opened, the AGCO was authorizing 20 stores a month, and then I think quarterly they raised it. So now they're doing 40, and now they're doing 80. So by the time I got to my 2 stores of the new ones, they were authorizing 80 stores a month. I plan to open up in January, but they messaged me in maybe September and they said, "Hey, you're ready now." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm not even financially ready to open these 2 stores."
Right.
I was shocked. I wasn't ready, but I'm like, okay, I'm still paying rent up until when I open. So it's smarter for me to just figure it out now, open as soon as possible, and start generating money as soon as possible. So it took me probably a month to really finalize the 2 new locations. I had my
Mm,
contractor who was ready, J Liberty Construction. He sorted me out. I already had the connections for the bank, the insurance, the POS systems. Everything was just an email away. So it took about a month for the new stores, and I learned all of that from opening the one location.
for store. So setting up the systems, just like you just kind of know the unknowns now, right? You know that like I need to contact these people. It's going to cost about this much. I know the things that I need to buy. I know the people that I need to put in place. It's just like essentially going through the process that helps you open up the other stores because you again you've figured out what the unknowns were,
Yeah,
right?
I've done it. So I know what it takes. I know what's required, and I know who to talk to.
So then on, so since you now, since you know at this point in time, you've had the multiple stores. So obviously you said that the other 2 stores weren't as profitable or weren't profitable as the first one, right? So assuming that you've done relatively everything the same for all 3 stores, even run the other 3 stores even better. One of the few factors that come to mind is like location, right? It's like did location play the part in determining whether or not the other stores were profitable or not, or did you see it was a different factor altogether? And if so, like what makes a good location a good location?
So there's a few reasons why my stores failed. Number one, we'll go about location.
Right.
The location that I have now is in an area where there's not only a lot of traffic, but there's a lot of businesses in the surrounding area that's driving traffic
Mm,
to their stores. So the other locations I had, there was no other stores that were bringing traffic. So let's say, for example, Wavy Buds right now in Kingston, there's a No Frills across the street. There's
mm,
hundreds of people that go to the No Frills that can easily look across and see Wavy Buds. Whereas my store on the Danforth, my store in the West End, there was no other store that's driving customers to my
mm,
location. So there was that. For two, the competition. So when I first opened my first location, there may have been, I'm just going to say 200 stores in my surrounding area, just a number.
right.
But by
Right.
the time I opened up the 2 locations, there's probably, I think there was like 1,500 stores in Ontario at the time. So
Way
it's
too many.
crazy.
Yeah.
So on the Danforth specifically, there was maybe 3 stores within 200 meters, and there's also um, an illegal store as well. So there's
Yeah.
four
Oh,
stores that are just within walking distance of my location. The fact that they've been there before me, I'm new. I'm just another store that, oh look, another dispensary just popped up. It was
yeah.
like that. So that one was a failure, and it was surprising because Danforth is a heavily trafficked
Mm,
areas. There's a bunch of walking traffic, car traffic, but again, there was no parking. So for me
wow.
myself, if I'm gonna go, I'm giving out the gems to everyone that's watching this right now. If you guys,
No, this is awesome. This is exactly what it's for.
I paid a lot of money to learn this. For me specifically, if I want to go to a store but there's no parking, I'm not even
Yeah.
gonna go because I have to try and park somewhere and then I have to walk across. It's just very inconvenient. So that's specifically even downtown. Like it was my boy's birthday. He said, "Come to the keg." I went downtown, but there was no parking. And then I just had to park further away and then walk. It was very inconvenient. But as a customer in the cannabis industry, you can't give them any inconveniences because if I'm
Yeah.
inconveniencing them, they're just gonna go to the dispensary down the street where it's much easier. It could be cheaper. There's parking, and then I lost business. So yeah, there was no parking on the Danforth, and then Weston, there was no other business that was driving customers to my location. So there's only so much I could do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because like so I have like these and again from speaking, with people like you and with just other people in this space, there's like the 4 pillars of loyalty that I say for customers to keep coming back. And it's a good price, good product, good customer experience, a good buying experience. And like the customer experience is like, yeah, John really helped me out with this. He remembered it was my birthday, blah, blah, blah. Like he was really helpful, right? He's super educational. And then the buying experience is exactly what you're saying. It's the convenience aspect. It's like, do you have parking? Can you order online? Do you have a wide variety of products that I can order from? Right? Like all of these things kind of play in a part where like even if you get the customer coming in that first time, once they know that like, okay, your bud tenders are really crappy to talk to, or that, you know, you don't have parking or you don't have any of these things put in place, it just like it sours the experience. So it's like, okay, I don't know if I'm going to come back and purchase again from your store. So does that kind of like mimic kind of the same things that you're experiencing, at least with the other stores?
For sure. You have one shot to impress your customer, and
Exactly.
everything needs to be checked off because I don't want to give them any reason to leave. So I make sure
Yeah.
I know my bud tenders, and I make sure I do my job as trying to provide the proper products,
You're
make sure
right.
they're happy with dealing with the customers, making sure they're polite. Just make it
Yeah.
just make it a good experience because we can't
Yes. Making
afford
sure they're happy.
anywhere.
Exactly. Exactly. So then I guess that gets me to my next question on like, so the key differentiator, right? Especially in this whole Toronto, Canada, Ontario market, it's like relatively the same product, you know, everywhere, right?
Yeah.
So what kind of makes you different? Like, what do you do for your customers to kind of like ensure that one, they come in the store the first time, and then two, they keep on coming back afterwards?
Definitely customer service.
Mhm.
Definitely being relatable. So when people come in, I'm very honest with them. Um, I still work at my store. I'm a bud tender. There's a
Right.
period where I wasn't, and I became strictly back end, and I
Mm.
lost that communication with the customer. So once I
Mm.
started working again, I was able to talk to them like, "Oh, Nick, I haven't seen you in so long," and I'm like, "Hey, Sally, it's been so long. Nice to see you."
Yeah. Yeah.
So building that relation with the customer's person on a personal level
Yeah.
um, increases the chances of them coming back. Another reason that we do okay is the products that we carry. So if I know
Mm.
that Brandon's buying Pink Kush every day, it's my job to make sure that we have Pink Kush, because if we don't have Pink Kush, they're gonna go somewhere else for Pink Kush. And
Yeah.
I don't want to give my customer an opportunity to go to be impressed by someone else. So I have to
Yeah.
make sure that I provide the proper products that they want. I have to make sure that the pricing is good, because if you're selling Pink Kush for $10 and I'm selling it for 12, and you're buying it every day, that $2 difference adds up. So I need to match that. So I have to make sure my competitors, I know what their pricing structure looks like. What else do we do? And I'm just honest. I feel like people understand, and a lot of people know that I run the store,
Right.
and they can see that I'm here working. A lot of my customers are returning customers, so they've seen me work every day at our old location. So our old location, this was during COVID, so we had to do the transaction with no interaction. So I'm
Yes.
through a fence. I'm bringing
Your
my iPad.
favorite thing.
Yeah, like that. Like literally, it's like we're drug dealers at that point.
Yes.
They seen me do that. I own it, and then they seen us grow to a new location where it's 3 times as big. The
Yeah.
store looks way better, and we're still here. So for them to see us transition to just surviving still,
Yeah.
yes, they also respect that and be like, we respect Wavy Bud's journey. I support them, and we do a good job of just being normal humans too. So we're not a corporation. Everyone that works here is a human, and we make sure that we show our traits and who we are. And I guess that just keeps people coming back.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Like, you can even tell just like from this interaction itself, depending on like who you're speaking to, who you're interviewing and stuff like that, like when people like elaborate on kind of their thoughts instead of saying, yeah, this is what I do. And then boom, that's it. It's completely different. So you can, even just over the Zoom, you can kind of see like the charisma that you have. And it's probably helped from all the YouTube videos and stuff that you've done as well, right? It's like, it's helped you practice all of the skill sets that you've learn have compounded to where you are now, which is like really really cool. So congrats on that. That's dope.
Appreciate
So on the marketing mix now, so my side of kind of like knowing this entire space is like I can talk about kind of like the whole dispensary marketing inside and out. You have programmatic, SEO, SMS, email, all these different things. So in terms of like your marketing mix, like what do you do on the marketing side to kind of help get customers coming back in? So the customer service obviously helps people who have come in the first time come back multiple times. But
it.
what have you been doing or throughout your entire journey to kind of get customers into the door in the first
To be honest with you, not that much. This is why
place?
we're going to have a conversation. We're going to have to implement some strategies with Cannabis.
No worries. Well, I'll walk you through. I'll walk you through kind of like a few things right here. My audience kind of hears me talk about this stuff all the entire time, but like the industry itself is like highly regulated in terms of like just all the advertising that you can do, right? So SEO, ranking on Google by far is like the number one thing that I found for all of my clients that have helped people come in through the door. And kind of like the way that I started is I actually, to give a little one quick sentence about my journey. So when I first started this whole stuff, I actually started a table tennis club. I started my old school and I was trying to get people coming in. Like I couldn't because like we just rented out a school. So I couldn't like put up a massive sign saying, hey, everyone come in. It was just like, yo, I need to get people coming in through the door. So I was like, how do I get people coming in? I was running Facebook ads, Instagram ads, nothing worked. And then a light bulb went off in my head. I was like, how do people find you? You Google it.
Mm.
So if you Google like, Pickering table tennis or Durham table tennis, like we pop up first and like that's kind of still running. So then we're talking about like compounding skill sets. So I use that, and then I started working with small businesses. So was working with like accountants, restaurants, lawyers, immigration agents, that sort of thing. And
Okay.
then I landed 2 dispensary clients. And little did I know at the time what the advertising space was, is that you really couldn't advertise anywhere else.
Mm.
So then, we landed these 2 clients, got them ranking number one, and both of them, I got the best results for them over all of my other clients combined. So I was like, another light bulb. So then I niched down, kind of went into this dispensary space. And then that's kind of like how I started this entire journey. And now it's just kind of like, again, compounded over time. So it's websites. How do you convert people on your website so they convert at a higher rate? So it's like, if everyone who visits your website, 1 out of every 10 people purchase, if you can increase that to 2 out of every 10 people, you're doubling your sales as well. Right. So there's that. And then there's the SEO. And then there's the stuff that I talk about a lot, which you 100% get, which is like doing the foundational things at a world class level, like the customer service stuff, like getting people to come back, right? Because on a theoretical level, if you want to hit a specific revenue goal every single month, right? Whatever, $100,000 a month, $50,000 a month, like whatever it is, right? You can then reverse engineer, like if your average purchase price is $50 and you have X amount of customers, if those customers never leave, you technically never need to make a new sale ever again because those customers will never end up leaving. And I like try and like, beat the horse on that. I'm like, look, you have to go in, you have to kind of like, unless like the owner is the only one that's going to care the most about the business, right? You can get employees, you can hire people, but like ultimately, like this is your baby. And if you're not kind of like in the trenches, if you will, and you're just trying to be like the person in the back end permanently, right? You can take a couple days. You don't need to be in the store all the time, but at least know what your customers want. What are the different cycles, right? Like what are people saying about the competitors? Like, because even your own customers who are loyal to you will tell you what your other competitors are doing and will bring it up to you. You'd be like, hey, so and so opened up down the street, they have this awesome new sale in, do you price match or whatever it is, right? Or they said that they have this new product, do you have this product in? If you don't, then you can be like, hey, I'll get that in for you, right? So anyways, like that's long story short, we can talk about this after, but in general, that's kind of what I'm seeing. And then, working on the email marketing, work on the loyalty side, and then working on the programmatic ad side, like that's like super super high level, more so for like the MSOs and the national businesses. But like for the standard one shop, like the SEO conversion is probably the highest ROI marketing strategy that I've ever seen, like unbiased aside, but
Okay,
that's
okay.
kind of what I'm working on this stuff
Good
right
to
now.
know.
As you're seeing, I'm sure, is like more and more people are opening up in the space, like more competitors, like everyone's popping up. What's kind of like your strategy to kind of continue retaining this like market share? Not necessarily like beating your customers, but just ensuring that like you don't get destroyed by like everyone else coming in the space.
Well, yeah, that's the main strategy right now. So my original goal with Wavy Buds is, oh, I'm about to get rich. My plan is just make money. It's gonna be crazy. But now that I know the market and I understand the game, I scaled that down to let's survive because
Mm,
the amount of stores that are opening, we can't all survive. I've lost firsthand. I know what
yeah,
it's like to open a store and have to close it. I can see why a store would want to close down, and I feel like that market is still happening today. So my goal right now is to wait and survive and try and hold as much market share as I
mm,
can and let these other stores die out. And once they die out, I feel like the market will naturally shift.
right,
So right now, the way I see it is there's so many retail stores. There's also a lot of producers.
yeah,
So there's a lot of stores that are buying cannabis from these producers. Once these stores start to shut down, there's not as much stores. There's going to be more competition on the producer side. So now there's 100 producers, right? Just throwing out a number, but there's only 10 retail stores. So now they need to fight for us to buy the cannabis. So
right,
I feel like that's when the products are going to drop in price. They're going to increase in quality, and it's going to shift from a retail problem right now to a producer problem moving
Mm.
forward. So my
Yeah.
goal is to survive until the tables can turn, because I've already paid my dues as a retailer that's struggling.
Right.
And eventually I feel it'll become more so on the producer side where they start to struggle. And then we as retailers have a little more breathing room, so to
Right.
speak.
Right.
So
There's always a correction. I forgot who asked me, but they're asking me exactly what you're saying. Like, what is the market going to be like over the next X amount of months, X amount of years, right? And like, very much so, it is a lottery ticket. And who buys lottery tickets? Everyone buys lottery tickets, right? And then there are so many stores that are opening. The stores that can't do the proper business practices and actually run a store properly, not just like, hey, we have this thing that's open with all these competitors coming up, a lot of people are going to go out of business, right? But I think now you have that expertise, like you've taken the punches, and you're still here. So I definitely think that you have a significant advantage, and not even just on the things that you own, but just like the knowledge that you have inside your head right now, right? So I'm sure that's going to pay dividends, later down the line, and it looks like you have a really solid plan put in place.
I hope it works out, man, because I've been through the struggle.
No, you'll be good. You'll be good. You'll be good. Okay, so now I have a question on it was episode 4, Wavy Buds, and you're on your bed and you're lying down and you're like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. Like you've been waking up hella early, and we'll talk about like how you continue to be so D's, for those of you who are listening to, like continue being so strong and stuff like that. We'll talk about that, but if you're watching this on YouTube, you might be able to see the silhouette, in the hoodie. His man's got some big arms right now. But in the full video, the full documentary from, again, 2018, 2019, whatever it is, you maintain a physique that, like, regular people, if you will, who are not working as hard as you, kind of are can even achieve, right? So we'll touch on that in a second. But like, what kind of made you keep on pushing in the days where you're like, man, like, I can hang it up at any time. You're just like a robot right now. Like, what was the motivating factor for you to just like kind of keep on going? I think it's gonna be super inspiring, not just for dispensary owners, but just for like entrepreneurs in general.
I'm crazy, bro. That's the best answer. When people ask
Yeah.
me to do it, I'm crazy. There's things that I've done that a normal person would not do. Like a
Yeah.
normal person would not give up their residency to open another store. My literal idea was my house, I'm never home. I'm paying $2,000 a month for it, and I make no money here. If I
Yeah.
can take that money, open up another retail store that could potentially make money, that just makes more sense to me. And
Yeah.
it does, but it's also like, where are you gonna live? Like, what are you gonna do? Like,
Yeah.
so that was my mentality. So yeah, it was just I was just crazy. I'm down to take the risks. I'm down to just shoot my shot. If it hits, cool. If it doesn't, cool. I've succeeded many times. I've also
Yeah.
failed just as many times. So to me, it's just the game.
Damn. Yeah. So on that journey, so again, for those of you who that are listening, Nick, he decided he was going to not live in his condo anymore and was going to live in one of his stores because his condo wasn't making any money, and he said he could save money inside his store, but the store only had a room, and it had no kitchen, it had no shower. So he had a gym membership, and he had to wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning to go to the gym because he had no parking on his street either, because you can only park at a specific time.
Yeah.
So if he stayed there, he would get a ticket. And he needed to, I guess, like, you had to do it, right? Like, it was,
So
this ticket is a number one accountability partner, right? Like when they say you have like consequences for different things, it's like, if you don't wake up at X time, you are now going to get a ticket. So you have to pay a financial penalty.
right.
And then you had to go to the gym anyways, right? And then there was no kitchen, so he was eating out every single day. And it's not like he was like balling with all this stuff. So you can't be eating in Toronto every single day. So what he needed to do was he needed to find the best deals at any fast food place. Like back in the day, they had the Burger King, $2 for 10 chicken nuggets. Like, who knows what the heck are in those chicken nuggets? But like, it is what it is, right? $2 for chicken nuggets. Um, so that's kind of like his journey and stuff like that. So I mean, it was just necessity that kind of kept you in the gym and kind of kept you in these habits that kind of did that, you
No
know?
choice. If I didn't wake up at 7 o'clock, I'm gonna get a parking ticket. I'm not
Yeah.
going to shower for the day because I'm working 12 hours a day at my new store because I can't afford to pay someone to run that store as well. So I'm not going to eat. Or I'm not going to shower. I'm going to get a parking ticket. My business is going to fail. So there's just so much on the line. Like
Yeah.
if I make any mistakes, there is no room for mistakes. So it
Yeah.
didn't matter whether I wanted to wake up at 7 o'clock. I had no choice. So I had to
Yeah.
go do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I just want to clarify. Even though I was living at my store, I had a girl at the time.
Ouch.
I was
Yeah.
living
Okay.
I had my girl's house. I was living with my girl, and then I
Yeah.
had my base as like if shit hits the fan, I still
Yeah.
have a roof over my head.
Roof over your head.
So when it did hit the fan, and now I'm full time living at my store, I'm like, oh, this is not according to plan. I'm like,
Yeah.
I didn't plan for this, and then
Yeah.
I just had to adjust and figure out what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, yeah. So when was the realization where, so at this time, your stress is probably at peak, your cortisol levels are through the roof, you can't be dealing with all this stuff. When was that, like, what kind of like switched in your head to where it's like, okay, this isn't, kind of the grind that I want to be on. I've been doing this for however many years right now. Like, what kind of were like, okay, I'm going to downsize, I'm going to get a condo, I'm going to, still make some money, but I'm going to live a much better quality of life. Like, when was that switch?
Honestly, when I was going through the breakup,
Oh yeah.
it hit me. That's when it really I had to look at my situation and realize, okay, what did I just do, and where am I right now, and how am I going to get out of this mess?
Hmm.
So even though I had 3 stores, you can't just wake up one day, close down the 2 stores, and it's all laughs and giggles. No, you have to go through the process of closing the stores. So I was aware that for me to embark on this journey, my life is not going to be clean for at least a year.
Hmm.
I'm gonna be cleaning up this mess for a long period of time. So after I understood that I had to break my lease, which cost me money because I have to pay my landlords for breaking the contract. There's that. I know I have to move all my goods out. I know I have to open up a brand new store at the same time. I
Yeah.
know that financially I'm gonna be recovering from this for however long. And I knew the best time to start that process is today. So
Right.
I wasn't expecting things to be clean and fixed tomorrow.
Immediate.
I
Yeah.
knew that I was going to take time. I have to stay focused. My life is going to be very stressful for months, but it's going to gradually get better and better and better. I'm going to bring the stress levels down until it gets to a point where, okay, I
Yeah,
can
you can
breathe.
breathe. Yeah.
That was a crazy mission. And now it was funny because once I cleaned up my mess, my dog had puppies. So
Oh,
it was literally like my stress level was here and then
yeah.
just went to here because now I
Yeah.
have 9 dogs that I'm taking care of.
Yeah.
So my life was crazy. And once all my puppies got rehomed, I was able to say, I'm gonna take
Yeah.
a break now. I'm gonna just relax and just get it together for a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So what'd you do when everything kind of like slowed down a little bit? You took some time because I recall you saying like you wanted to take a month off and like at least you just needed a month to just like kind of relax and stuff like that. Did you get that month or did the craziness in you were like, nah, I can't take a month off. I gotta keep on going.
I needed it because I wasn't mentally I wasn't able to work because
Right.
I feel like my mind was just all over the place.
Yeah.
So it took longer than expected. It took I think I just recently maybe like 2 3 months ago I was able to be like okay like I'm now I think it was when I started the documentary when I released that I
Yeah.
was like okay this is what it's like to work again. This is how fulfilling it feels to create something and then release it to the public. I
Yeah.
like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
definitely took almost a year to really just get my energy back inside of me and find my purpose again and figure out, okay, this is who I am. I have a
Yeah.
clean slate right now. My system is very set. Now I can
Yeah.
start shooting shots and reaching higher and it's not going to be because if I'm already at the top of like stress levels and I'm still
Yeah.
trying to reach higher, it's just out of control. So now
Yeah.
life is under control. I'm able to make smarter decisions, reach for goals that I can achieve because I'm under control now and I can strategically move to achieve these goals.
Yes.
And yeah, it took a long time, man, but here we are.
So would you say so when you're just like running all these stores, got all these employees, got all these bills coming in, right? It's almost that like you don't have time to think. You're just kind of doing, doing, doing. You have this massive to-do list. And I say like you have the hamster wheel to-do list where like you cross off one item and then you go to the second item, but then in order to cross off the second item, you have to add 5 more things to cross off the second item. So it's like your to-do list grows faster than the work that you can do, right? So it's like the hamster wheel of like to do, right? And it seems like once you're able to like settle things down after all the dog stuff, again, downsizing, you have a place to stay, was the clarity that you had moving forward and being able to plan the thing that was really able to help you like figure out what you wanted to do moving forward. Like, it's now that you had time to think, and
Mhm.
now you can kind of be like, okay, I want to do this, I want to do that. Now you can kind of do things that you want to do versus doing the things that you have to do. Is
Yeah,
that like the difference between the two?
for sure. So being able to, you just said it best. There's always something to do, and to even do that, you have to do two or three other things to just do that one thing. But now you did these two other things, which is just a chain of just work.
Just more
So
things.
definitely taking that step back allowed me to think more. Like you just said it best, is I wasn't able to think. I was just a robot. I was just, okay, I got to do this, this, this. It's all done. And by the time I sit down, I'm tired. I can't even think. My
Mhm.
brain is tapped out. So taking that time to really stop allowed me to think and allowed me to figure out what I want to do, how I need to work, and do it much more efficiently too. Because
Mm,
I got to a point where I'm writing emails and I have emails to write. I'll look at it and I just wouldn't even write. I'm like, yo, I'll just deal with that later because I have to do this. But
yeah.
emails are packing up and I'm like, I have to respond to these emails. And each of those emails, there's another chain of work
Yeah.
that comes with those emails. So your life is just in
Yeah.
shambles. So I just had to make sure I found a balance of working efficiently. And by doing that, I had to take a huge step back,
Yeah.
just gather myself, and then let's see
Yeah.
what happens moving forward.
Nah, that's cool. That's cool. So we would call you an OG in the space, because you've gone through a lot, right? So what would you say to kind of the other, dispensary owners out there that's like looking to take it to the next level? Like, what do you think that they should focus on?
I think they should franchise with me.
Yeah. Okay. All right. There you go. If anybody wants to franchise and stuff.
Yeah, I haven't put all that into plan yet. It's not official,
Right.
but thinking back, even just watching the videos that I've made, the struggles that I went through, the expenses that I went through, the unnecessary expenses that I went through,
Right.
versus when I opened up the two other stores, and how I was able to trim all the fat and how much more efficiently I was able to open up those two stores. And also the fact that those two stores failed. That
Mm,
also taught me a lot, that you need to pay to learn. So the expertise that I've acquired in my journey of entrepreneurship is very valuable. And that's definitely going to be one of the plays moving forward, is franchising opportunities.
nice. Okay, that's dope. Well, then I guess that takes me to the last question. Is like, okay, for anyone who's interested in franchising, and like, how do they get in touch with you?
My email is nicholasaw93@gmail.com, or you can find me on Instagram, which is Nick_Wavy. You could Google Wavy Buzz. The phone number will be on there. Um, and even not even just franchising. Like if there's anything that you have to ask, like I answer questions, and I'm very open to help people, because I know there was a time where I had no help and I
Yeah.
just had to go struggle. So the fact that
Yeah.
I'm able to assist, I'm open to doing that for sure, 100%.
Nice. Well, you dropped a bunch of nuggets so far. I mean, that's exactly what this podcast is for, right? And I guess now my last question is like, from an entrepreneurship standpoint. This is, I mostly say from a dispensary owner standpoint, but like as an entrepreneur, like heavy respect to everything that you've done. What kind of like, do you have any golden nuggets to share with any business owners out there that are, looking to start? They're at the point where they're just like, I don't know if this is going to work out. Like, do you have any like kind of motivational insights that you want to share for those that are out there?
You have to be passionate about it. Like if
Mm,
you're able to link passion and craziness, you'll be able to make it work. So my passion is what drove me, because I really wanted it. I had a point I had to prove where no one believed that I could do it. And it
right.
just made me want to do it even more. So if you're able to find your passion, and if you're able to find that one thing that drives you to achieve your goal, you can do it. It's all entirely up to you. Whether you want to be successful and achieve your goal,
Yeah.
not up to me. It's not up to Brandon. It's up
Yeah.
to you. You have to
Yeah.
find it inside of you to make it happen. And if you really
100.
want to, you will achieve it. If you
Yeah.
don't really want to and you find it's more of a struggle, that may not be for you. Maybe
Yeah.
you adjust some things in your life until you find that one thing, like this is it. And
No.
then you
Yeah.
pursue that.
It's 100% accountability aspect.
100%.
Nice. Well, Nick, thank you very much for hopping on the show. This is it for today. Like I said, my name is Brandon, the founder of Cannabis Marketing, the #1 marketing agency for all dispensaries, both in Canada and the United States. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you guys on the next episode.
Yeah,
Peace
right.
out. Okay, cool.